Welcome to the Good Ride. I'm James Beastie. I'm talking about the Yes Pick Your Line, slightly new for 2026. Nothing else really changed except the stiffer flex. It now matches the flex rating a lot better. This is a board that has a tapered directional shape, but rides much more centered on board than a lot of its peers. It has a fun, energetic camber profile, and like I said before, a stiffer flex than past years. And while it doesn't float very well in low angle powder, it is a great big mountain powder board and all-rounder for those who love a tapered directional feeling board, even though it isn't that tapered and directional. It has a slashy, semi-surfy nature to it for being so centered on board, where most surfy boards are much further set back. I rode this in a wide variety of conditions. I think this came out around like 2012-ish, so I've been riding it since then, and it's had a lot of forms, but this particular shape in different flex personalities has been around for almost a decade now. And I've ridden this in all types of conditions and all kinds of flex personalities. This time around, I put on my Nitro Team TLS boots, Union Force bindings, and got this just on some good groomers because I know this board so well. I just wanted to see what the new flex personality was like. And I rode it same day against the Pick Your Line Extreme, which is a more stiff Pick Your Line on ink. Nothing else changed except for the flex. And this is an honest, objective review for you, the consumer, with zero brand oversight. And we can do this thanks to our sponsor, Blower Board Shop, as well as support from good readers like yourself. But if you want to support the Good Ride, click through our links to Blower Board Shop and buy something. They're a family-run shop that used to be small, but they've made a push to create a larger online presence. And their customer service, shipping, and support are just like the big stores online. So give them a shot. It would be greatly appreciated. So when it comes to sizing, this 59 feels great. I love the stiffer flex. It handles my weight much better, and this width handles my size 9 boots really well. I've tried the 62 before. It just feels a little big for me. But here's the thing. I like control and a board that handles better in uneven terrain. If you like speed, carving, and you want a little more float for this kind of board, and you're my specs, you can definitely size up and it'll be really fun to ride in good conditions. It might be a little more challenging though in uneven snow, but there's always a compromise. And when it comes to shape, the Pick Your Line is tapered and directional. It doesn't have a lot of taper at 5.6 millimeters. There's a much bigger disparity in terms of shape between nose and tail. There's a tapered underbite side cut that makes it feel more tapered. We'll talk about that later. And this is only 10 millimeters set back on side cut at a 22.5 inch reference stance, which is a little wide in my opinion. And then when you're looking at setback on board on reference versus setback on side cut, you're looking at 1 inch back from center of board at a 22.5 inch stance width. If you want to set it all the way back, add a 22.5 inch stance width, which is nice to see that consistency throughout the stance range, albeit I'd like to see it more narrow and more set back. You can get 2.5 inches back from center of board. So there is a lot of variation in terms of where you can set your stance up. But overall, you're very centered on board, even though this has a much more tapered and directional feel than the shape would allow you to believe. It feels like it has a lot more taper. When we're talking about camber profile, you have a decent camber underfoot that goes well past the inserts, almost to the tail, and then there's a little more early rise before the nose, but you still have a solid camber feel underfoot without that catch of camber. So I think an intermediate on up to an expert could easily ride this board. Even though it has a little stiffer flex, it's still easy to skid a turn and initiate a turn if you size it correctly for your boots. Now, when it comes to edge hold, I love this tapered underbite, this indention here, and then an indention here. I'd love it if they were more symmetrical so they gripped equally well. And this can let go a little bit on the tail, but in hard snow, it's okay to front foot weight this a little more but as the snow gets softer, it's more fun to back foot weight these turns. Let's talk 2026 PYL Flex. It's still not the stiffest board, but it does feel a good bit stiffer than the last Pick Your Line I've tried. Yes has stiffened up their line. Their flex rating is more accurate now as a result. In the tail, it's got some stiffness, but most of it's right here. The very end of the tail is softer, so if you can get to that, it's got a easy butter, but it takes a little more work than the older Pick Your Line. And same with the nose. It's a good bit stiffer, but because of the early rise and a little bit softer flex in the actual nose range, not the transition, it butters okay on the nose as well. And overall, it's got a real easy pop to it. It's very easy to ollie for an average rider, and it's very easy to access that pop without too much work. If you like to ride switch, you're going to be better off with something like the All-In Extreme if you like a directional board that rides switch better. But this isn't bad for what it is. This is great for hitting large natural features to get air off of. Not the best in the park, but I really enjoyed this. Lining up for little side hits, I thought this did a really good job. It can land switch okay too. This is really fun in the pipe for directional pipe riders, but it's not a jib board. And in terms of uneven snow, I like this stiffer flex better. It handles soft uneven snow a little bit better. In terms of hard micro bumpy or hard uneven snow, it's about the same as previous year's models. So overall, it's a nice upgrade in terms of flex. Now when it comes to turn initiation, this is very quick edge to edge. This really worked well for my size 9 boots, and I felt like I could turn this incredibly well in tight spots and in the trees, even though there's a lot of tail behind me. Then when I get this on edge, this has a very unique side cut radius that allows a wide variety of turning radiuses. It starts in at a shallower side cut at 7.8 meters, then drops into a 6.9 meter side cut, and then out the tail it's 6 meters, which is really turny. It definitely leans on the more turny side, but I have no problem going straight with this. And this straight lines very well, especially with the new flex and this turning radius, along with this camber profile. You can make long, drawn out down the line carves, medium radius turns, across the groomer carves, and circle carves. And it really has a nice snap out the back. So if you front foot weight your turns, it's more down the line. If you center weight your turns, it's a little more balanced. And if you back foot weight your turns, it really has a spring out. It sounds a little confusing, but it's actually really fun. Just know yourself, know how you turn, and then you know what you can do with this board. And the more I ride this, the more I've discovered its versatility. But if you're somebody who likes to lean into the back foot out of a carve, you're going to like this a lot, and there's good spring out of the turn. And with this stiffer flex, it can handle a higher speed carve better than the old Pick Your Line could. It feels much more big mountain, and that's good. And this stiffer flex can handle going straight very well. The nose doesn't clown shoe as much as it used to, and it feels much more competent in speed. And this side cut allows you to go pretty fast too. And when it comes to base glide, this is definitely upper tier, but not the fastest of fast. When it's well waxed, you'll be happy with this, and it holds its wax pretty well. You have a good floater in powder, especially for a big mountain ride, and I've ridden this in everything from like 3 feet of powder to a few inches, and this floats very well for having such a centered stance. I really like the Pick Your Line Extreme better for powder because it's more set back, has more taper, it's more directional. The nose is much bigger than the tail, so if you see a lot of powder, you want a little more setback on board, but you still want some tail for landing gear, the Pick Your Line on ink is going to be better, but this is a great board too. And overall, the Pick Your Line's been a great ride, and I think it does so many things well. One thing though is it really hasn't changed much in almost a decade other than its flex. I'd love to see a refresh, maybe a little something new. They brought out the Pick Your Line Extreme, which is a little more setback, a little more tapered, directional. It's kind of a new version of this, but I'd love to see some sort of upgrade to this, like maybe add some setback inserts so you can get more directional float like most freeride boards offer these days. When this first came out, it was a time of twins, and this felt pretty directional compared to the sea of twins out there. But these days, this doesn't feel that set back, so it really only has appeal for those who see steeper terrain in powder. But other than that, this is still such a recommendable board. It's a very versatile board, and everything from hard snow all the way up to steep angle powder. There you have it.